All right. Hello, once again, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to the Summit Podcast. Once again, we're on a tear lately with some great guests. We had Mike Claudio, we had Steve Rosenberg coming at you today with Tom Reber from the Contractor Fight, and also now Tom Reber of Simplify Painting. So this is a guy that's been yelling at me for 2 or 3 years now about how to do business the right way, how to deal with people, how to handle a contracting business. And I don't know, must have been a few months ago, Tom said, well, the best way to show these knuckleheads how to do this is to do it myself. So I told Tom before we hit record, I want to hear about it. I want to hear how it's going, why he started it and all that jazz. But first, Tom, thanks for just taking the time. I've been on your podcast a couple of times, and we always have a blast. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in Denver here in a couple of weeks and all that jazz. So welcome. Thanks for coming.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Bob. It's good to be here, man. It's always a good time. So
it's a blast. So for those of you guys that don't know, a lot of the people that'll hear this are part of Tom's battleground group for the Contractor Fight. If you haven't checked it out, I'll put it in the link. I'm always talking about it anyway on my stuff. If you haven't heard about it, you live under a rock. But like I said, Tom jumped out and started. He went back to his roots. Tom started as a painter, I guess, in the entrepreneurial world. Mm-hmm. And now he's gone back. He's basically said, watch me do this again, right?
Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer, guys. You think it's hard? It's hard to go on video. It's hard to do my marketing. It's hard to track my KPIs. It's hard this. And Tom, I read a post from you yesterday or the day before about everything you've done since you started, and it was impressive.
Thanks.
So if you just tell us about that for a minute and what inspired you to kind of restart in that, given that you've got this big coaching group going on. Here you are starting a painting company.
Yeah, I always knew I was going to do it again. And the timing had to be right. I actually started it in 2015 when I moved to Colorado Springs.
Okay.
And I had it up for a few months and then I shut it down because I didn't have the bandwidth and I needed to hit some more milestones in the fight. And, what do they say? You chase two rabbits, both get away. So I, obviously stuck with, I put this on hold for a while and, the fight is grown, multi-million-dollar coaching company. We got several coaches, got a CEO who's running everything day to day. And so after, a few years here of just getting things in order, I had the bandwidth to do it. And so I did it for a couple of reasons. The first is we have a lot of people that come to the fight that start their business as a side hustle. All the guys in the group,
right.
The tile guys, the firemen and the cops and
right.
guys that have day jobs and they're starting stuff. And not just in our group, but also, in our podcast and YouTube audience, I get a lot of messages from people asking for advice on how to do it as a side hustle. And so that was one reason I'm like, well, I'll just show them. And so I started this officially, I started building the website, through CGN and doing a little prospecting and some things like that in, I guess it was mid-June. And then July 1st-ish, July 1st, call it, we kicked off with our first project. And since then, sold 25 of them in the last, sold 25 in our first 62 days. Now it's been about 2 months. And sold a few more. But anyway, we, so I'm devoting just, like a few hours a week to this thing, which we always say when we do anything, right? It's only, you got to run to a house. Like yesterday, I had to go, one of my guys had surgery. And so I had to go put another clear coat on this front entry. And I'm like, it'll take me an hour and a half. I was there 2.5 hours. Shit always takes longer than you think, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't have my painting chops back anymore. So I don't really pick up a brush, but now and then you got to. And so that was one of the reasons was I really wanted to model and create the playbook for those doing it as a side hustle. The second reason, which I don't know if this is just transparency here, it's probably rooted in some sort of insecurity. Mm-hmm. If I'm being honest, I have no reason not to be, where I was getting tired of creating content in the fight, telling stories of things I used to do, not things I currently do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's like hiring a fat personal trainer who used to be in shape, just 100%. Didn't. And so there was just always something sitting on my shoulder, just going, you got to do this again. And what I found, man, it's really funny. It's actually helped the fight. It's helped me be a better coach. Cause I'm back in the weeds with guys. And I'm having a blast, man. I think I've been reminded that I like contracting. I like being on the job. I love rolling up to the job site, flipping over a 5-gallon bucket and shooting shit with the guys over lunch or something for a few minutes. I love problem solving. I like, making, it's simplified. We make shit easy on people, like somebody texts, we have this painter for a day thing. You get a guy for $800 for the day and you supply the paint. And he's like, I don't know how much paint to buy and I don't know where to get it. And this, and then I said, we got it. I'll just hand you the receipts when that's just a little thing, but it's like, let's just keep it simple, solve problems. And, it's, I'm having fun, man. And it's, not that I wasn't having fun in the fight, but it just gives another layer of fun and challenge. And another thing I've learned about myself in the last 20, 25 years is I'm a starter. Mm-hmm. I'm a really good starter. And once I get something at cruising altitude, I'm ready to hire somebody to run it like I did with the fight.
Yeah.
And so I got some pretty ambitious goals here for Simplify in the next few years as a side hustle. And, we'll eventually sell it. We're talking actually about opening up some other locations. I've had 2 people reach out to me already and they're like, hey, can we run a Simplify here? And I'm like, and at the very least, if none of that happens, we will do I'll run it or I'll build it to where somebody's running it. And, and it'll be a true business that operates without me. Right now, it's certainly not, I'm in the first 60 something days right now. So, but yeah, man, it's, and I think, the other big reason is, a lot of people call bullshit on what we talk about in Battleground.
You do. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, my wife reminded me, she says, this is fun for you because you're just implementing the things that you're doing in Battleground.
Yeah.
And when you implement the things, doesn't mean I don't have problems. It doesn't mean I'll tell you another story here in a second, but it just means you have the community, you have the answers, you have the framework to be successful. And as well as anybody, man, if you're not winning in business, you are not having fun.
Nope.
So, shit, we've been running at we preach 50% gross profit. And I have a subcontractor model now. I'm averaging over 60% gross profit on sales and production. And then until last week, and this is what I say, guys, and the lesson here, I'll just spell it out, is when you make enough money, when shit goes wrong, it doesn't bother you. Okay. Yeah. Fast forward to 25 years ago when I started, when something went wrong, I didn't know my numbers. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know all these things. And any little issue that knocked us off course or off budget would be devastating, not just to me mentally, but to my bank account. And so, I've banked a little over in 2 months now, I banked a little over 10 grand in our own line of credit for Simplify Painting. So when shit comes up, we can handle it. So we had this door. It's a fiberglass door, front entry, and needed to just sand it down, and gel stain it again and throw a couple clear coats on it. Well, I was in a hurry one day, gave the stain to my guy, and he does great work. I'm not ripping on my guy. This is 100% on me. I should have stayed while he did the sample and we got approval.
Yeah.
And we didn't, because I was in a fucking hurry. And I made the assumption, that everyone could read my mind. And and it came out like shit. It just wasn't what the client wanted. So I had 2 guys on it for 2 full days. Front door, transom, 2 side lights, stripping it for 2 days. And it's fiberglass, so you can't use the real potent stuff or else it'll burn it, So it was just a lot more work and just absolutely took a beating on this thing. I lost money on it. We're a negative profit, but you know what? I don't give a shit. I give a shit in the sense that I give a shit. And I look at it and I go, okay, this is just a reminder that you got to follow the fucking process that you laid out, you dipshit, and, but on the money side, of course I'd rather make money than lose money, but when you have enough oxygen like that, and you got some money in the bank, the thought of taking a shortcut with this guy and not taking care of him and giving him a red carpet experience, it doesn't even cross your mind. So, and I know a lot of contractors are like that. If they're listening to your show, they're people of integrity, right? So none of us are going to bail on a customer or anything, but it just makes the stress go away when you have enough money, man.
Yeah.
And that's why it's fun, because I'm just implementing the shit myself and our team coaches on, and we live it out,
Well, it reminds me of the saying from Steve Shinholzer: if you have a problem and you have enough money to take care of it, you don't have a problem, right? Exactly.
I mean, literally, dude, it got to the point where I told the homeowner, I said, hey, if this doesn't come off properly and we can't finish it the way it needs to be finished and all this other stuff, I said, I just want you to know I'm prepared to order you a new door and have it installed.
That says a lot.
Okay. And that probably would have run me 15 grand. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't fucking know what a front entry installed costs. Double side lights and a transom, probably 20. I don't know. I have no idea. But I was literally to the point where, like, I'm not going to abandon this client. And I think a lot of people, I was telling somebody else about this and they said, dude, you never talk about shit like this.
Yeah.
People assume that just because I get on the mic or on the stage and I'm like, get your head out of your ass, fucking charge 50%, blah, 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 that I don't care about craftsmanship and quality and those different things. Right. And I'm fanatical about those things, and to me, it's just like, it goes unsaid because it's what you expect.
Right.
I mean, you hire a remodeler like you hire a painter like me, you expect the product to come out kick ass.
Yeah, I don't want to have to apologize for it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. I always tell my guys, we're waste plastic, take your time on things, this and that. If you fucking need more time or money on the job, I will pay it. Like, what I do not want is somebody to have to apologize to.
Right.
And we're not in the apologies business. And that's why this last door project that we did, it was just a good reminder that, the process matters. It was 100% on me. And the other thing I learned, even if everything went right, I underbid the door, because it's been 12 or 15 years since we've done one of these. And I think somebody asked me the other day, they're like, what's been your biggest awakening or revelation since you started Simplify again? I said, I had forgotten how long shit takes.
Right.
And I think the longer we're out of the field as owners, the faster we used to be.
Those cabinets will just jump up on the wall.
I'd have this 6,000 square foot house, painted 2 coats by myself in 3 days. What the fuck's your problem, guys?
Yeah, you worked all night to do it. Yeah. Tom, there's some things that, here you are 25 years later or so, starting again, right? And so, the haters are going to say, oh yeah, it must be really easy when you own the contractor fight. You can start, but there's some things that you've had to do differently this time around, right? Like things that, because of the time in between and what you've learned and what you've taught everybody over time, that there weren't mistakes that you were going to make again. What were some of those?
Well, right out of the gate, it's funny you say the haters. I've gotten some hate mail, if you want to call it that, about, oh, I knew you didn't have a successful coaching company, so you got to do this so you can pay your bills and shit like that. I'm like, okay. And listen, this year we're a little ahead in the fight. We're a little ahead of last year, but we're nowhere near where our targets were, and we had built infrastructure. So, listen, we have issues just like every other business does, man.
Right.
Just because somebody's a fucking coach doesn't mean their business is perfect.
Absolutely.
We have people issues and cash flow issues from time to time, and things we do wrong and fuck up, and
all part of
it. I think the biggest lesson is my approach to marketing.
Okay.
So because this is and what I'm doing, I'm not taking any of my money from outside Simplify Painting. I'm literally self-funding this. I'm putting myself in the shoes of the average contractor who's starting a side hustle. You got limited time, you got limited funds, blah, blah, blah. Now, one of the benefits of a side hustle is you probably don't need to eat from it.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Why it's a side hustle. Now, yeah, you could supplement some income here and there or whatever. And maybe instead of paying yourself, 8 or 10 grand a month, you're paying yourself 3, right? Or some shit like it,
Yeah.
whatever your numbers are. And so for me, I'm basically taking Gina, my bookkeeper, out of every deposit, she takes a percentage, throws it into our line of credit, building our own line of credit. And then everything above and beyond that, that's gross profit from the jobs goes back into marketing. I bought a new truck and wrapped my truck. It was just under $4,000. I've got, Facebook ads running. We're just starting Google ads. I'm prospecting my ass off, picking up interior designers and stuff. So I've always been a prospector, but from the paid side of things, one of the things I've learned from 20 years ago or whatever, or not that long, but I was just not spending enough money to get eyeballs, especially in the beginning. I do not have a brand yet for this company. We're just a fucking painting company at this point. We're not a brand.
Right.
And until you're a brand, right, and the phone just rings automatically with referrals and past clients, and they've seen you around for years and stuff, you're gonna have to spend some money on marketing. So I'm surprising to me. I'm like, fuck it, let's try Angie and Thumbtack, see what happens. And dude, I'm killing it on those.
Wow.
Because it's speed to lead. Now, when the data shifts, then I'll back off on it, but I'm closing like 47% of Angie and 40% of Thumbtack.
Yep.
My Thumbtack leads are actually bigger jobs, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Than any other source right now, other than my influencer relationships. And so I'm just attacking this marketing thing, and my goal is I'm gonna outspend everybody here. Even the established companies around here, dude. I mean, I've got 14 reviews in my first 2 months. There's guys been in business 10 years. They don't have 25, 30 reviews.
Right.
So my number one target here is buy market share, get to 100 reviews as fast as I can. That's like literally all I'm focused on right now. And somebody asked, well, how do you make money if you're taking all the money and putting it into marketing? I said, and I'm like, because I'm playing the long game with this thing. Right. Year one, this is the strategy. Year one is eyeballs. It's relationships. It's building the teams. It's getting the foundation laid right so that we can build, on top of that.
So, yeah, I mean, and like you said, you don't necessarily need to eat from it. Now, with the contractor fight, you're routinely the typical guy that's coming into the fight, guy or girl is coming into the fight, has got a business and it's already fucked up, right? So, all right. So what would you say to somebody you don't get a chance a lot of times to get a hold of somebody before they start.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's watching this, like say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, what are 2 or 3 things you might say, listen, don't pass go, don't collect 200, don't even start without doing these couple of 3 things.
I think we just did a video, a little short that'll be posting soon. And the 3 things I shared was, number 1, you gotta know how you're going to make money.
Yeah.
So you got to reverse engineer your numbers from day one so that you're winning financially. Even though I'm not paying myself from this, I'm winning financially because I have money to invest into the marketing of the company.
Right.
I could go out right now, Bob, and sell all my work at a 20 or 30% gross profit and get way more work, but then I'm building a foundation of cheap prospects.
Right.
So I think being intentional, just again, in the context that this is a side hustle or you're starting a brand new business, and with that, obviously knowing your numbers, don't be in such a hurry to get out of the field. Like if it requires you picking up a tool, go fucking pick up the tool. A lot of guys, you've seen this before. I know in the work you do, people, they try to scale too quickly and they get out over their skis and then they create more problems. The second thing, you got to be fanatical about getting eyeballs.
Yeah.
If you're starting. When I started my very first business in the early 2000s, 2002, I think it was, I had this initial flood of jobs that people knew I started this company and they wanted to support me.
Yeah.
And so I made in my pocket, I made $4,000 in my pocket over a weekend in my first month, staying in a deck and doing some other shit. And I'm like, my God, this is so easy, and then you burn through those initial relationships. And now that what you've built for your brand and marketing is now exposed. So I think from day one, know those numbers that you need to put in your pocket. and protect that. Number 2, get those eyeballs. And number 3, you got to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
And we teach that in our Shin Fu and stuff like that. And people think the goal of the Shin Fu is selling on the phone. No, the goal is just like, hey, Bob, I know what's important to you. Bob knows that if I come out there, it's going to be between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on a couple factors. And he's cool with the range. Doesn't mean you get the job every time.
Right.
And listen, I want to say, I always give shit to my pond guys, like Shinholzer. He had 100% close rate when he went to somebody's yard to sell a project for his last 4 years in business. Okay. I give him shit because I believe that there are certain trades that are much easier to do that. One of them being water features, because it's such a
feel good.
It's such a feel good. And like when you could do this with kitchens and other, there's certain trades where it's like, hey, paint a picture, you're building the dream back here. What's it look like? Paint a picture for me here of your dream. Wave a magic wand over your backyard. It's such a dramatic change. Now, obviously paint can be a dramatic change, but in the paint in an industry like painting, it's very much commoditized because everyone and their fucking brother's a painter. You turn on HGTV or these other shows and they paint a whole house for $75 in 45 minutes, and it's one of those trades that people look at and go, I can do it myself. So I think we have to work. There are certain trades that have to work harder to establish value and build the brand. And we'll get there like I did with my other companies. And I have no doubt, but if you don't know how to sell and communicate and pull out what's important to somebody, then you're just spending a bunch of time running around meeting unicorns, people that are never going to hire you. And I did a foo the other day with somebody, Shin Food on the phone. They were good to go. The budget was great. They were ready to move ahead. I fucking got out there. Maybe it was like a $12,000 project. I'm like, it's in the bag. And while I'm there, another painter knocks on the door. Like shit happens. Like you could do everything. And now, and it's funny, I left the place and she's like, okay, she basically lied to me. Yeah. And I'm like, whatever. And I get in my truck and I start driving down her street and out loud, I just go, I'm on fucking Hope Island now.
Yep.
Because that's what it is. And so you can do everything right in your pre-qual and your sales process and communication, and people are still going to do what they're going to do. So I think there's this perception that like, oh, if you master the Shin Fu, it always goes your way. It doesn't always go your way, especially if you're a commodity business to the world,
Well, yeah. You can go take septic systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to pay as little as possible to have my septic system replaced. It doesn't give me any pleasure to look at, whatever. Got to have it, right? Different than maybe going out and being able to enjoy a water feature or a new kitchen, like you said. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, good luck with it. I'm enjoying hearing about it. My one question I had after reading your post the other day, and I scanned it again to see if you had mentioned it, and I don't think you did, but you did today, was how much time is this costing you weekly? And you said, hey, a few hours. So that's cool to hear. You're not pumping 40 hours a week into this. Mm-mm. That's good.
Listen, it's averaging probably 16.
Yeah.
There have been a couple weeks where it's 40.
Yeah. So
because I have a job that I'm heading to after this that's an hour and 15 minutes away that my new sub crew's working on, and I'm going there because I need to put eyes on some things each day because they're a new crew, right? So that's a 3-hour round trip thing today. I think it's just protecting the time and I think that's where Shin Fu really comes in. I mean, I have investors calling that want to flip houses and people that are selling their house and they don't want to spend a lot of money and the Fu has protected us from that. And there's other times I'm like, well, listen, normally, if we're doing like the Taj Mahal paint job here, highest level products and prep and all this other stuff, you're probably looking at $8 to $10,000. And they're like, oh, hell no, I'm selling that place, and I'm like, all right, well, we could come in and, just patch anything that's major, we'll, instead of 2 coats on everything, we can upgrade the paint and get you close to 1 coat coverage. It's not going to look perfect. It's not going to be the best. And now you're looking at 5 to 6. What do you think we should do next? And they're like, no, our budget's $2,500. I'm like, all right, see ya.
Well, yeah, you're trying to meet them
So,
where they're at, and sometimes you
yeah,
can't, right? Sometimes and that's the food doing its job. It's
yeah,
prequel, and that's why Shinholzer closed 100% in his 4
hmm
years. He knew when he was going out, they were already his customer,
right.
right? Because he did a great job on the phone beforehand. Hey, let's say
There's also less pond guys that are kick ass than there
true,
are like painters and remodelers and stuff and land
yeah,
and grass cutters
right?
and so when you're and to Steve's credit, I tease him about all this shit, like it's easy to sell ponds, but Steve is basically he's in the macro landscape industry, but he's a specialist within it who's a knee surgeon,
Yeah,
right? So if I chose to say Simplify Painting was only going to do interior painting or was only going to do cabinets,
yeah,
that's more of being that specialist, Right
yeah,
now we're all three, interior, exterior, and cabinets. So
yeah. You're
yeah.
taking what you can get. You're just starting. You're
Mhm.
not being super picky. You're looking to gain some momentum, some traction, and start building the brand. So good for you.
Yeah.
Switch it up a little bit. I've known you now for a few years. I've seen you struggle. I've seen you succeed. I've seen you take things to the next level, and I've seen you just fighting your way out of the corner. Um, what do you do when I wrote down on my notes? What do you do when you want to blow the whole thing up?
What do I do when I want to blow it up? I probably have, on average, 1 day a quarter like that.
Yeah.
If I just think back, and it usually just comes out of nowhere in a conversation with the queen, and I just start losing my shit. Like I'm on edge, like I haven't been dealing with some things,
Right.
and then I just explode. And usually she talks me off the ledge, tells me to quit being a pussy,
Yeah.
and to figure shit out. So I think what I do is I think I'm pretty good at being open about things to my closest relationships. I think that's probably my default. Is I've learned that, not 100% on this, but I don't stuff things like I used to, and so I think it's just putting light on it and not letting it hide in the shadows. Shit, I mean, if you got to say something to somebody on your team and you push it off, it just grows bigger, right?
Mm-hmm. Say it.
So I've learned to, like, let's get some light on this, some other eyeballs, and just perspective
Yeah.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. The book, write a new book. And now this is book number 2 or 3. 2. Okay.
Well, it's 3, but I never released the second because I didn't like it. And so officially this will be the second. It's called Sell Unafraid. It was done. It was going to be released in May. It was done. And I woke up one morning and I just opened it up and decided to, like, it was edited. It was ready to go. We were just doing some final touches on it. And I just started kind of flipping through the manuscript and I didn't like it.
Okay.
I wasn't, I have a certain style, as you know. I'm a little in your face and this and that. And I think I was writing it to try to reach a broader audience, and it just didn't sit right with me because it wasn't the fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't on brand enough. And so I just put the brakes on it. And then my next plan was I was going to have it ready for Mile High this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not ready. Just life and things in life have happened in the business,
Right.
and businesses and this and that. And so I'm looking to get through Mile High, and then I'm going to hunker down for a couple weeks. I'll have it done, because it's written. I just got to make it
Sure.
me. And so I'm hoping we'll have it out, by the end of the year here to everybody and stuff. But yeah, and sometimes this goes back to, I think the lesson is listen to your gut, right? We all do things where our spidey sense is tingling.
Yep.
And I think in past years, I would have pushed through and just put it out because I committed to putting it out then. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is going to live for a long time out there. And if every time I see the fucking cover of this thing, I'm cringing because I'm like, I know it's not the best that I could do at the time. Then I can't put it out. And I don't care what the deadlines are. I don't care if I have to pay twice for the editing. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that important of a thing. And I think the other thing is I put another reason I decided to wait till after Mile High is I'll have a few months of Simplify in here
Right.
where I can then draw from real life recent things and not just, what shit we used to do. And
Like you said, yeah.
so
Yeah. I like that.
yeah.
Well, when you are done with it, I know it'll be high quality. It'll be you,
Yeah.
and the fight, and that'll be fun to read. Um, I was gonna ask you something else. The physical stuff. You and I are about the same age. We were
Mhm.
talking before we came on. I said, dude, my 50s have been a street fight, right? This hurts, that hurts. I got this surgery. It's going on. Looking at blood work. I can't sleep. All this shit, right?
Yeah.
So, what are you doing? What's a typical week for you? You got Simplify going now. You got the fight. You got an event coming up. Are you hitting your workouts and how are you staying on point?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm big into kettlebells.
Yep.
One of the things I love, and listen, I'm not a fitness expert. I'm not whatever. I've just learned my body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am 20 to 30 minutes a day with kettlebells. And when you do them right, it's there's different movements, but like the ballistic movements are very explosive,
Right.
creating massive tension through the body and just, not wasting a moment of your workout time. Right.
Right.
That combined with doing a shit ton of sets. So there's ballistic lifts and then there's the grinds like presses and front squats with the double kettlebells and shit like
Right.
that. The heavier I go, lower reps, shit ton of sets. That works for me because it
Yeah.
burns more fat. I get strong. I don't feel like a little wuss.
Right.
And helps my mobility and those different things like that. And then this is newer to me this year is I'm actually incorporating rest days.
What is this you
Yeah,
speak
what are
of?
those, right? So a rest day might just be throwing on the weighted vest and
Yeah.
going for a walk with the queen and fighter, and
Right.
just and it's just a nice pace just to move my body,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I'm still, kind of dialing some of that in with the rest. But yeah, it's like I'll do 20 sets of 3 or something like that with like a
Right.
minute between or 30 seconds between because I want to generate, when you move heavier weight under maximum tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't train to failure, you can live longer in the game, right? So
Right.
a lot
Yep.
of people hurt themselves and stuff because they and there was a time for this, but I don't go to failure anymore. Like the first rep that my form is not dialed in, I just put the bells down.
Done.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna live to play another day,
Yeah.
and or another set instead of again, my fitness friend buddies like they'll tell you the same thing. There's a time and a place to go to failure, depending
Right.
on what your fitness goals are. For me, number one, I don't want to be a fat fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's that simple. Number
Yeah.
two, I don't want to look like I'm a wuss.
Right.
Like I'm 5'10", I'm 200 on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
I do testosterone and creatine and, eat a shit ton of protein and,
Do what you got to do.
and, so that's the routine.
Yeah. I love it. I was curious about that. I've seen you post on the workouts or just a picture of the kettlebell, and I'm like, yep, Tom's doing his work. So, thanks for leading from the front on that. Let's pivot here a little bit and talk about Mile High because
Yeah.
that's part of the reason I wanted to get you on here about this time. And guys, I'll let you know that my first experience was Tom Reber was in my ear during 75 Hard. I was just kind of looking at podcasts and I had remodeling, contracting. Oh, the contractor fight. I'll check this guy out. The next thing I know, he's yelling at me in my ear, says, "Stop slamming my dick in the door." why are you doing all this stupid shit? And I'm like, literally thought you were behind me, walking with me, and saying, "Wow, this guy knows what I'm struggling with. I wonder how many other people there are like me." So I decided to go to Mile High Profit Summit in Denver in 2021, and this year will be my 4th year. Some people might say, "Why do you keep going back? Haven't got it figured out yet?" It's about so much more than that. It's about the community. I have 400 or 500 friends now, acquaintances, people I can network with, that I didn't have before. And I don't know too
Yeah.
many guys over 50 that can say that.
No shit. Yeah.
And Tom, I just want to publicly thank you for coming into my life at that time, and it's ignited something in me that's, as you've seen it, and now I'm doing stuff, and really, I'm probably pretty unique as far as someone that's been in, as part of the fight. I'm doing a podcast, I'm coaching people, having a
Mhm.
blast, still contracting, don't love it, that, but still doing it, and using a lot of what I've learned in the process to still be here and do well. But I'm coming back this year. Tell us about the Mile High Profit Summit. What's going to be different, if anything? Yeah, take a minute and tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to thank you for being a four-timer.
Yeah.
Appreciate you,
How many
man.
are there? It can't be that.
Four.
Oh,
And this is the last one.
me and Mark Bunker are the ones only one. No.
Yeah. This is the last one. And everyone was like, why aren't you doing it anymore? And a couple reasons. Number one,
It's a ton of work, right?
yeah, that's the second reason. We're not afraid of a lot of work. I just felt like, and this year's going to be off the charts. It's going to be great. We're not holding anything back or anything like that. But I just felt like, okay, we've done this. What's next?
Right.
We will be doing events and things. They're just going to be different. And,
Yeah.
we're still ironing those things out. And, when we started, before the contractor fight existed, those that don't know, Steve and I had this thing called the Contractor Sales Academy. And when we first started that, we used to have 70 to 100 contractors in Steve's garage. And, it was just real blue collar and grassroots. We didn't have fucking, food and beverage minimums to meet for hotels. Right. Like our food and beverage minimum for the hotel this year is like $150,000, man. It's like $500,000 or more to put this event on. And,
right.
It's we do it more for the community than we do for the profit.
Right.
And we don't make that much on the event, especially if ticket sales aren't where they need to be.
Right.
But we do it because there's power in getting together. And I was like, well, we could still get together in somebody's shop. We could still get together and do more frequent meetups around the country. And so I'm exploring some of those things. It also takes 8 to 9 months of our team focused putting this together. And any business owner knows, like, sometimes you got to sacrifice the good for great. Yeah. And there's areas that we're not being great right now because so much of our focus and time and attention is, spent 2/3 of the year or more. Yeah. Putting together one event. And again, I think that when you work with hotels and stuff, it makes it more complicated. But yeah, man, it's, this year, it's really all about, in past years, we've talked a lot about building a strong business, building a profitable business. In fact, we've talked about it so much on the show, YouTube, the events, that people don't think that I'm all about scaling. I'm just not about scaling until you're ready to scale. And so previous years has all been about being as profitable as you can so you're not scaling a turd, right? Right. And so this year, it's all about scaling. We've got a lot of, 60% of the room are repeat attendees. Amazing. And so this is the event to be at if you really want to learn how to pour gas on what's already working for you and build a great business. I open it up with a quick talk, and then right after me, Tommy Mello, the garage door dude, he's going to do a thing. Tommy he was on my podcast, I think 2017. He was 30 million a year. Now he's tracking for 300 million this year. And I think his business is pretty close to being valued at $1 billion. And he's going to talk about scaling. We've got Marcus Sheridan who's coming back, and he's going to talk about how to scale using the content and the They Ask You Answer, but using it with AI so you can do it quicker. We got Linda Alvarado. Now, nobody knows her name. Mm-hmm. Okay. She is one of the, at the time, many years ago, she was one of the only female Major League Baseball owners. She's part owner of the Colorado Rockies. Okay. She's a general contractor, and she built the hotel that we're meeting in, the Hyatt. And so I'm going to be interviewing her, and I'm telling you, she's very nice lady, nice sense of humor, very wise, this and that. She's not some, fire and brimstone speaker.
Right.
But dude, we did a pre-event interview a couple weeks ago with her. And just the shit she was dropping in this conversation blew my mind. Just the way she approaches things and growth and taking risk. And because, you want to scale, there's risk now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're paying yourself 20 grand a month now and you want to scale, well, now you're paying yourself 10. Because, that's just one of the risks, right? Is your own income. So you gotta have a lot of things right to scale. We got amazing breakout sessions. We got a VIP day the day before that's got half-day workshops. We got, dude, I go on and on, but the community's amazing. I'm giving a very special award this year to someone. We do our impact award, and it's about who's really had an impact, and I think people are going to be blown away by who I give it to this year. And man, I'm excited. We're what is it, the 4th? So we're 15 days out.
2 weeks.
Holy shit, man. 15 days out. And hats off to the fight team, man. I compared to what everyone else does, I don't do shit. I just prepare my talks and I show up. So I want to just publicly thank the Contractor Fight internal team, because they're the ones losing sleep over this shit.
They do a fantastic job.
Oh man, I'm telling you, like it's and by the way, side note, make it easier on my team, you guys. Read the fucking emails we send you about registration and stuff. Stop emailing them in and going, where's the link? The link's in the fucking email, ass face. All right, there we go. Dude, I'm telling you, it's like nobody reads anything. Now to be fair, all right, because I'm speaking with forked tongue. All right, when I go to an event and they send me all the shit, I don't really read it to the last minute either. All right, so. But before I email fuckers, I go back and I see if I could find the info, and 9 out of 10 times I could find the info. So
let me see if it was. Let me skim through that. So I do the same thing. Tom Reber. What did he say?
It's
yeah. Well, a couple more questions. I know you're busy. We'll get this thing wrapped up.
Yeah, man.
What would you say to somebody that I try to sell, Battleground, or get some of these subs involved, or or even say, hey, listen, you should go out to Denver. Oh, geez, that's a lot of money. Well, but is it really? What would you say to someone that's on the fence?
I've never met anyone that regretted going. Okay.
Fair.
Now, 4 years, they're probably a couple. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, we're not going to please everybody, but everybody that's been on the fence and decided to go was always so glad that they went, because there's so much in between the lines there. And it doesn't matter how successful you are. There's a dude coming this year, mega successful contractor. And I won't name him, but he's doing, damn near 20 million a year at a really, really high profit. You look at him, I know him well. He's never been to the event. And he reached out to me out of the blue, and he's like, we just grabbed some tickets and we're coming because I just feel there's something in the room that's going to help me. Right. There's a conversation I'm going to have in the hallway. There's whatever. So on the macro here, I would say if you're a project-based contractor, you're established, meaning you're in business, and you're just tired of the status quo, just the way shit's being done. There's a next level. You're kind of wearing yourself out because you're doing shit the way every other contractor does it. And that just working harder and harder and harder isn't going to get it done. Then you belong in the room, regardless of the size of your business. If you're just looking for to come and there's some easy button and you just want to look like a big fucking deal on social media and take selfies and go out and drinking all night and shit like that, that's not going to help you. And also, if you're going to show up, put your ass in a seat and then not implement anything, then save your money. Right. Save your money. Yep. But dude, you know the stories. Bill up there in your neck of the woods, he went out and got a credit card. He went to Mile High. And then he joined Battleground. He had like 37 cents in his bank account. So he went out and got a credit card just to sign up for Battleground. 37 cents in his bank account. He's been on the show before. And 18 months later, he was doing 1.7, So it's like, because he's an implementer.
Right.
And we have a panel discussion where, you know, it's all about implementation.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you sign up for the gym and you don't lift and you don't eat what they tell you to eat, you're still going to be fat.
Right.
So you have to do the work. And listen, you're going to work your ass off anyway. And for those that are like, oh my God, you know, I don't even know what the tickets are now, $1,500 or whatever, because it's a late registration now, and
Right.
it's more work on our end
Yeah.
when you wait, so we charge more.
Right.
And I mean, dude, you're gonna pay the 15, call it $3,000 with travel and shit. You're gonna pay the $3,000 in tuition no matter what, right? Like you're gonna pay it in mistakes. You know, you're gonna pay it in wasted time and all this other shit. And that's what I always tell people with Battleground, with our events. You're paying it anyway. You might as well collapse time here and move faster through the bullshit than you normally would.
Yeah.
And end up saving some money in the long run. And like, look at this. All right. If I just you go $3,000 divided by 90 days, that's $33 a day, right? Can you make an additional $33 a day for the next 90 days to pay off the fucking credit card bill if you got to put it on a card?
Right.
And listen, this isn't me go into debt to come to my event. It's not me trying to be pushy. It's me trying to give perspective. Like, you're already wasting money. You're already undercharging. You're already fucking up the sales process. There's things you don't know about how to market your ideal client, how to deliver a great experience, all these different things. And how many times, I mean, have you seen people at this event, dude, and they have that one fucking aha moment? And they're like, it's like the heavens just opened up and they're like, game over.
Yeah, they can't wait to get home. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I remember being on your podcast in 2022, and after having been there, adjusted what I was charging, which wasn't enough. And it turns out long after that, after these projects that I did, we had some struggles on. And if I hadn't charged more by way of just being associated with you guys, I probably wouldn't be around. So
yeah, I mean, all of us could say that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just amazing. So, well, I thought this was going to go 15 minutes. Here we are pushing 50. Let me ask you this. I got to ask you.
All right.
You know, and we talked a little bit before. My group is called The Edge and all that stuff. And I really work with people to try to help find their edge, push them to the edge. Or if we go for a hike, I'm going to the, and Ben Newman kind of helped me develop that and said, there's an edge to everything that you do and you say. So I started asking people on the podcast, what's your edge? Where do you go when the shit hits the fan, when the chips are down, when you're having that kind of a day? Well, what do you feel you bring to the table that others don't?
Wow, it's a toss-up. I think it's really my ability to pull back and just get perspective. Like, I really think that's an edge for me. That understanding that winning, losing, getting my ass kicked, whatever's happening in this moment, I know it's temporary. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This door thing, I said to the queen, I'm like, we just got to get through the door. The easiest way out is through, right? So just in the macro of this, it'll be lessons learned, opportunity to refine our processes and training. And it's going to be a win in the macro thing. And it's just a pain in the ass now. So I think perspective, one of the things she's shared with me is that, and I'm not 100% on this because I can have a temper from time to time. Like, listen, I get fired up and shit, Marine, football coach, contractor, I'm fucked, right? So it's but I think part of that with the perspective is I'm pretty calm when shit's going crazy.
Yeah.
Like I can just observe. I can normally just pull back and see the field and just go in the chaos, just going, okay, I'm all right. We're going to be okay. Cause got to solve the problem.
Right.
Whatever the problem is in any business, life, whatever, I think I'm pretty overall when things are really bad, I'm calm.
Yeah.
And
I wrote on my notes here before I asked you the question, what I thought Tom Reber would say was his edge. And I wrote to not give up.
Yeah.
And
Well, when I said it was a toss up, the other was I'm too stupid to quit.
yeah,
and I don't mean that to rip on me. I just mean
right.
like
Yeah,
I'm so obsessed with winning and success and
yeah,
not tapping out and listen, that's forced me to stick with certain things longer than I should sometimes too, right?
probably.
Because
Yeah,
it's
true.
but yeah, it's just that perspective. Like, I'm not going to quit because I have one bad Google review, right? Like, if this guy with the door gives me a shitty review, I'll reply. I'll go, "You're right. We dropped the ball."
Yeah,
Now we got. And I told him yesterday when I finished, I said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I know this is really inconvenient for you guys. Didn't go as planned. 100% on me. I didn't follow my own process, and now we got some opportunity for some refinement and some training."
yeah,
And he's a ex Air Force military engineer type guy. He gets it,
yes,
and
yeah,
he was cool mostly through it. But yeah, man, you just gotta, and you got to keep grinding away. And if you have to stop, pause, change direction, or what's the sexy word in business? Pivot. I hate that
yeah,
word.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean that you quit. It just means your winners find a way. And sometimes
yeah,
the way changes, but the mission stays the same, but the way
right,
changes. We want to win the football game and we can't run because they're stacked up front. So looks
yeah,
like we got to chuck the rock around here and get some first downs. Like, you got to
right.
figure it out. So the goal stays the same.
Love it. I love it, dude. This has been fun. I figured, I wasn't going to tie you up for too long. I know you got shit to do. Thank you for giving me the time, and everybody that's going to watch this the time and, and a little bit of different shot of Tom Reber and hear about simplified painting and all that, Mile High. So thank you. I always close with this. What do you want people to know? It's your floor. I think I stole this from you. But what, hey, we've got an election coming up. We've got the economy, interest rates are here, gas prices are there, businesses all over the place. What would you say if you had, if more than normal would have watched this podcast?
I would say, do you, be you, define your own success. Don't look at anyone online and Insta
Yeah,
and all that other bullshit. And, I think, what winning looks like to you. And so don't, like, here's an example. Like, I'm just going to be weird here for a minute. I'm Tom Reber of the Contractor Fight, and I started a business. There's literally a side of me that's going, you got to build this into a $2 million business in the next 90 days.
right,
You know what I mean? Because of what I do.
right,
And I'm like, no, this is a side hustle. And here's some things that are important to me. And what it becomes after this is great. But for me personally, it's going to be a side hustle, even when it's up and running and there's salespeople and everything's going the way it needs to go. So I think just not letting others define what success means to you is huge. It's
Love
very, this, man. I mean, we're the same age. I turned 55 next Friday, or this Friday. Shit, 2 days. I spent so much of my life, like I was in a coaching group many years ago. It was a great group. I'm not ripping on anyone, whatever, but it was a bunch of painters, and everyone, there was like this pressure that if you weren't scaling and you weren't like every other business in the group, that you weren't a success. And that really fucked with me for a while.
yeah,
So I think I've learned, just do you, define your own success. If you want to work 3 days a week in your business, then work 3 days a week in your business and reverse engineer the money in your life, and so be it, and be happy.
right,
If you want to put the tools back on in a world where everyone says you're not successful unless you got the tools off and you got crews in this, if you're happy doing it, then find a way to make it work.
right.
So, yeah, I think we just spend so much time, with this all the social media bullshit, and everyone's got a fucking Lambo that they rented for the picture.
Leaning on
it. I know guys that have borrowed 10 grand from their fucking grandfather to pull cash out of the bank to lay it on the bed to take pictures. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. Like, just,
Do you?
And back to where this comes from, because I want to credit where it's due. One of the things I learned from Steve Shinholzer many years ago, he was building this mega, mega profitable pond company, and he never paid attention to what anyone else was doing. He literally built it in a vacuum. He will tell you that.
Yep.
And he's like, no, here's my goals. I mean, he was the first one that, you probably remember this. He's like, from day one of his business, he's like, if I can't put $1,000 in my pocket a day, I'm not going.
Right.
And he stuck to that. And he made a shit ton of money, sold the business for a shit ton of money, and had a great work-life balance because he just chose to define success on his own terms. So
love it.
That's what I got, man.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you and Steve and the rest of the team in a couple of weeks in Denver. Looking forward to that for year 4, and I'm one of the ones that have been all 4, so that'll be fun. Tom, thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, this has been the Summit Podcast. Great guests lately. Tom's one of them. And if you're thinking about, doing something like, Tom, I'll be honest, I wasn't going to bug you because, it's Tom, he's got this, he got that. And one day I said to Wendy, I said, you know what? I'm asking two guys on my podcast. One's Tom Reber, the other is Ben Newman.
Mm-hmm.
She said, what are you doing? I said, there's Reber, there's Ben. It took 5 minutes. Both of you guys responded and said, hell yeah, thanks, let's go. So I appreciate you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
You got it, brother. Appreciate you as well, man. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.